Hi guys, it's April and I garden down in southeast Nebraska, zone 6A, formerly 5B. And this is probably going to be my second installment of the battle against the roly-polies because they came back this past week and they have done some serious damage to my squash. I may have saved some of them, but it's gonna be a struggle to get zucchini this year. I'm not entirely sure if I'll get any, but I keep trying. I mean, that's what a gardener does, right? They just keep on trying. Gah. Let me kind of show you what I'm talking about. Here is my pumpkin. They're looking pretty good, not gonna lie, but I only have 2 plants here. I started out with 4, if you remember last week when I was showing everything off. Yeah, now it's 2, and as you can see, I've got the DE all around the plant. I'm hoping that'll have some effect. So far, I think I've managed to save at least these 2 pumpkin plants, but let me show you the rest of them. So you can see the loofah is actually starting to go up the deck, which is what I want it to do. I did just give it a good water, but not all of the loofah vines have actually made it. Only 2 of the 3 are actually, I think, still alive, but I'm managing to keep those other 2 climbing and thriving, and I'm hoping it stays there. I did have some DE on these plants as well, but through all of the rain and everything else, it's been washed. And then the sweet potatoes are actually looking really good, as you can tell. Peas have started to die back. I do have a couple of pods still on the plants that I need to come through and harvest for next year's seeds. And the garlic is probably going to be harvested in the next couple of weeks. I did already harvest this bed. I'm thinking that my next attempt at zucchini may be in this bed. I'll be able to keep a close eye on them if they're in this bed. I might just not be able to do squash in ground for a while. We'll see. Something weird is going on with the Fred tomatoes back there. They're all leaning, but I think some of it is because of the aggressive wind we have had this whole past week. We've had some serious days of very high winds, and everything is just kind of leaning a little bit. But I'm just leaving this bed to flower. I do, like I've said the last couple of videos, I do want to come through and I want to fill this with some heat tolerant spinaches. And then we've got that beautiful sundog who's just enjoying the heat. But the whole reason I went this way first is because of this. Ta-da! So you saw last week that I planted the zucchini plants that I have been babying for weeks in ground finally, because I thought they were big enough. I thought they would make it. It would be fine. Well, those obviously aren't zucchini plants. All of these got eaten, and so I replaced them with some of my okra, thinking that maybe the roly-polies will leave the okra alone. So far they have. So I might just have okra plants here. And this is the last remaining zucchini plant. I don't know if she is going to actually make it. We'll see. I'm hoping against hope that she does make it, but as you can see, even now there's roly-polies just yeah. But let me back it up and maybe go on to some things that are going well with the garden, because right now, like I said, the battle with the roly-polies is I'm throwing DE everywhere. That's about what I'm comfortable with right now. I might put out some potato traps and some beer traps later, but my solution is just to continue throwing even more seeds into the ground. So here we are. So back at the center in-ground bed, you can see the roly-polies haven't touched this squash plant. At least it looks like they haven't touched it. We have found some spots where they have chomped away at this, but it is still thriving, which is fine. It's looking more like a zucchini plant than a butternut squash plant, but who knows? She's a volunteer. Over here, this is new. So this is my test plot, and this year they wanted us to grow some sweet corn. So I have some sweet corn over here and some sweet corn over here. Now the difference is, this is the side that I've been amending for 2 years. I've done the cover crop, I've done the layer of compost and all of that. And over here is just what I've normally been doing for the rest of this in-ground section, which is pretty much just mulching and leaving it alone. So the test will be what the difference between these two corn crops will be. I'm not necessarily growing this for the corn. I've never really been good at sweet corn because the bugs always get the corn first. But I will later use the stalks of the corn for decorating in the fall. And of course we have the pots. As you can see, the cilantro has now gone to seed, but the bugs are loving it. The pollinators are thriving off of that plant. There's also one over here, and this one has definitely started going to seed as well. But it's bringing in all of the bees and everything else, so I'm letting it go to seed, and maybe I'll use the seeds next year for planting the cilantro, or I'll just use it as seasoning. But in here, this plant is so freaking thick. You can see we've got tomatoes growing, and we definitely have them on the other side that I just showed you as well. Over here, especially in, I think this is a Fuzzy Wuzzy, but we've got lots of tomatoes right in there. The dill is flowering, which in conjunction with the cilantro is just, everyone's throwing a party over here. Probably should show you this from another angle, but we're here. Right over there is my volunteer ground cherries, and right here is even more of the okra that I had started. So we'll see how all of those do. And then you can see my onion blossom is flowering. I do have a couple of garlic blossoms that I think I'm just gonna let go, and we will have some garlic flowers. Otherwise, this section looks a lot like the other pots, but I still need to deal with the pots that aren't draining. I just haven't gotten around to it. So there's that. So in this first bed over here, can I just say how good this Ocote green squash is looking. She is my favorite squash this year so far, just because she's looking fabulous. Otherwise, the pepper plants pretty much still in the same state as I showed you last time. There's even more peppers on them, but none of them are turning colors. I definitely think I screwed up putting this many flowers in with the peppers. Some of my middle peppers are starting to get shaded out a little bit. So I'll probably go through and cut those back. All of these peppers over here are my spicy peppers. Right here are my pretend spicy peppers. So they're my jalapenos and the habanadas and things like that. Over here we have my garbanzo beans, which are kind of water hogs. Didn't really realize that, but they can be so freaking temperamental to the point of if you don't water them for a day and it's gotten to the 80s or 90s, they will have spots that just look like they've gone dry and that they're dying. And this might have been a mistake, but we'll continue to see how the garbanzos go. And then these are all the sweet peppers, which are pretty much doing the same as the spicy peppers. I think this one is going to be turning mainly because it has been eaten, but that is the orange Alessia pepper. The potatoes have gotten so tall that they're starting to flop over. So I'm keeping an eye on this giant bush of a plant, which is actually like 20 some different plants, but it's kind of making me happy what it's looking like right now. And then we have our bulbing onions, which look at those bulbs. They are looking so good. I am still keeping an eye on the tomatoes. We're starting to see even more fruit appear, which is good. I've only gotten 2 ripe tomatoes so far. Both of them are cherries. One of them is from this bed right here. It is the Evil Olive, which I think I've pointed out in nearly all of my garden tours so far because it was the first fruit to show up. But here we've got the stevia, which I think tomorrow I will cut a lot off of and I will let dry so I can use it. The thyme just keeps holding on, but it's not really getting much bigger. Not sure what's going on there because this thyme is doing the same thing. So there's that, but the sage and the lemon balm is doing fabulous. Start over here. You can see right here we've got the ground cherries that I transplanted that took to this spot pretty well. And then here is my 3rd round of zucchini. I'm trying it right here because why not? I had space. But the jelly melons are starting to climb. So that's fun. And if I loop back around to this bed, as you can see, we've got lots of fruit on the tomato plants. They're all a little more wild than I wanted them to be, mainly because I haven't pruned as often as I wanted to, but they seem to be thriving, so I'm not too worried about it. So believe it or not, there is 8 plants in there, and they're doing well. And as you can see over here, we've got even more tomato plants. I think this is the Isis candy, and it is just the most prolific tomato plant so far in the garden. But otherwise, I mean, it's like all the other tomato sections. We're not really getting ripening fruit yet. And then of course, their onions are looking good as well. Over here, the carrots are looking very lush. I did have to pull at least one carrot the other day because it was starting to go to seed. It was starting to flower, and so I fed it to the guinea pig. She quite enjoyed that. She got the tops and all. The eggplants are probably ready for both the carrots and the beans to just go away. And the carrots probably will fairly soon. But the beans, I've never had beans do this well. So I am just keeping an eye on the beans. I don't know when I'll actually be able to start harvesting. Haven't seen any yet. And as you can see, the calendula has been flowering like crazy. These are my extra dwarf tomato plants, and they seem to be doing okay after I pulled all of the potato bugs off of them, and that seems to have done a lot of good because, as you can see, there are no potato bugs. And the potato bugs have pretty much left the potatoes too. Well, there are a few here and there, but I just go through and pull them off as I see them. And as you can see, these beans, and there are pepper plants in there. This bed is just a little too dense, but what can you do? And from this side, I think I showed you it this way last time. We've got these tomato plants. I think this bed right here has got the most fruit in the bed. So let me show you the other side. We've got all of this fruit starting to show up, which is exciting. There's some buried in there as well. The paste aren't looking as good as I would hope, but they are producing at least. This plant right here, which is a midnight Roma, and then this one right here, which I believe is a Nebraska wedding. Both have fruit on them, but I haven't really seen any fruit on the other 4 plants. And then last but not least, it feels weird to end the garden tour over here, but we switched it up today. We have the Starfighter line of tomatoes, and I'm still watching all of those fruits and waiting. So yeah, that is pretty much what's going on in the garden right now. So as you can see, I'm having a nice little battle with the roly-polies this year. If you have any suggestions on how maybe you mitigate your roly-poly problem, if you have a roly-poly problem, and if they seem to go after a specific plant, because like I said here, they're going after all my squash. I have zero idea why. I will win though. I will win. I'm determined to get zucchini. Do I need zucchini? No, I don't. But I have promised several people zucchini out of my garden, so I am still trying. Now, I do these garden tours every week, so if you want to watch how my garden grows and changes over the weeks, feel free to subscribe, hit the bell, do all the things to get all of the notifications. I like it for my own record so I can see how the garden has just evolved over the year, and then I can go back to other years and just see how the growing season has been different each year. I also have an Instagram and Threads account where I mainly just post photos of what I am harvesting and all of that more regularly than my once a week YouTube video. So you can follow me over there as well. But I think my camera is overheating, so I am going to get everything inside edited and uploaded. I do hope I will see you guys again in another video, and I heart you beautiful faces.